All right, we are live and we are recording. Okay, just to start us off on a good note, we have made some good improvements over the past year. Met with the executive team and beat up the insurance carriers, and this one was pretty heavily evaluated. So what my job is, not only right now but throughout the year, is to help answer any questions that you may have about these coverages, or if there's a claim that you're confused about. That all comes to our office. So we are a consulting and brokerage firm for anything that we cover during today's presentation. So we're going to talk about medical, dental, vision, life insurance, disability, flexible spending account, some voluntary plans, and then all of this stuff is COBRA eligible, meaning if you leave employment, you can take the coverage with you. Right now is open enrollment. So bottom of page 1 is just very general. You can hop on and off the plan only during open enrollment unless you have one of these IRS approved qualifying life events, marriage, divorce, birth of a baby, things like that. Now, in terms of the question of, well, where do I go? You're going to go right here on the screen. You'll go to the Paycom bin admin system, as y'all have done in the past. So no changes there. These are screenshots of where you go and some examples of what you'll see. I'm going to go back to another screen just for a second because we had a couple more folks, I think, hop on. All right, I think we're good to go. If you have any questions on the benefits administration, just where you go and that process, Devin is much more knowledgeable than I will be in terms of making sure she points you in the right direction. Devin, anything you want to talk about or say just while we're on that topic that I may have missed?
No, I think you covered it perfectly. So you'll log into your personal Paycom app, go to benefits, and then make sure you're selecting the correct benefits enrollment. So it'll be 2023 benefits enrollment. And then through there is how you will go through the enrollment process.
Okay, very good. So we're staying with UHC. This is the busiest page. There's a lot of information on it. Your policy number is stated there at the top. The network, that's the group of doctors and hospitals that are contracted with United Healthcare. It's called the Choice Plus Network. That's the biggest network UHC has. In the past, you had at least 1 or 2 plans that had coverage just in network only. We did make some changes to that and improve the coverage and really the network for this year. So the plans that you have, we have 3 different plans: a base plan, a middle plan, and a buy-up plan. The base plan is the least expensive. The buy-up plan is the most expensive. What I'm going to cover here is just how they differ. So you've got right here at the top, plan type, you've
Can I
got an
ask you a question,
HSA.
Ben?
Yeah,
Real
sure.
quick. So
Sure.
I'm on the Paycom's page right now, and I hit the 2023 enrollment, and it only has 2 choices. It has a low medical plan and a HSA, and then a high medical plan. That's the
Okay.
only 2 you can select in Paycom.
I'm glad you said that. I have a high amount of confidence that right now Devin is reaching out to Paycom to inquire why that would be the case. But thank you for stating that. I would assume everybody else is going to be seeing the same 2 plans.
Yeah, I just wanted to be straight on that one because they're
Yeah.
not labeled anything like that at the top of the table there.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of work to be done there. But these are your 3 different offerings. The base plan is an HSA eligible plan. The mid plan, I just like to call the mid plan a copay plan. The buy-up plan is also a copay plan with a better deductible. And so all 3 plans cover preventative services when it says 0%. annual physicals, mammograms, pap smears, childhood immunizations, things like that. Now, when you go to a doctor visit on an HSA, you are responsible for paying the discounted rate to go to the doctor. You do not pay a copay. I have an HSA for myself and my family. I don't pay a copay when I go see the doctor. So for example, if the doctor's rate is $150 and you get a roughly a 50% off network discount, then the cost of seeing that doctor is $75 on an HSA plan. And that's very normal. That's always been the way that HSAs work. There are no changes there. Copay is just a flat rate when you use something. HSA plans don't have copays until you hit your deductible, which is typically asked of you in a hospital setting. If you're on the middle plan or the buy-up plan, you do have copays, just a flat rate when you go see a doctor. So the middle plan is either $10, or if they are a specialist, you are $40 if they are designated as a UHC designated specialist. There will be a lot of times it's like a little badge that'll say designated specialist. So they have doctors that they discount the copay to go see. Those are the designated specialists. All other specialists are that $80 copay on the middle plan. And the buy-up plan is $25 or $75, primary care specialist. Retail clinics and virtual health. Retail is kind of like a doc in a box. So HSA, you'll pay the discounted rate for staying in network. Mid and the buy-up, you have copays. Virtual visit, 24/7, 365, good for allergies, sinus infections, things like that. Eye infection, it's good for that as well. And we've got some more literature in here for virtual visits. Now, the deductibles are where these plans are also going to differ as well. The deductible on the base plan is the highest. The middle plan is right in the middle. The buy-up plan is the lowest deductible. So that's where you're going to see when the deductible's higher, the cost coming out of your paycheck is going to be lower. And so you'll see costs start to go up and to the right as you look at these three plans, and that'll correspond with the level of deductible. I always like to show people it's not just the deductible, but when you're thinking about insurance, I want you to think about this line as well for an out-of-pocket maximum. Out-of-pocket max is worst case scenario, January through December, that you are financially responsible for covered in-network services. So, for example, if you have a $5,000 deductible on the base plan, you've got a $6,550 out-of-pocket max. So really, you've got $1,550. So these copays right here for prescriptions will fill up that next bucket. So if you're in a hospital setting on an HSA plan, then you're liable for the first $5,000. UHC pays the rest of the bill for covered in-network services. And then these deductibles for prescriptions fill up that next portion up to $6,550. So that's an all-in cost. The mid plan, you're responsible for the first $2,000 on an individual basis. After $2,000, that next dollar that comes in, you're paying 20%. So once your 20%, that 20 cents on a dollar fills up, that's called coinsurance. It's just splitting of cost after the deductible. But either coming or going, the max amount of financial risk on this mid plan for covered in-network services is $5,000, January to December. So you have a little lower out-of-pocket max exposure. And the buy-up plan has a lower deductible, $500 lower as compared to the mid plan, but you'll see you've got the same out-of-pocket maximum. So really what you're deciding on between the base and the buy-up plan is, do you feel more comfortable with a lower deductible, same out-of-pocket max, or do you like a little higher deductible for a little less of a premium? Prescriptions are on copays. Those are all listed right there. And the copay, the expense of the prescription does correspond with the copay tier that the drug is on. And so really the biggest thing on the buy-up plan as opposed to the mid is you've got a $25 copay for primary care, $75 for specialist, and you've got a little lower deductible. And so we wanted to give you some different choices. These mid and the buy-up plan are very similar in a couple of different ways. So it's just going to depend on your own utilization. What you'll see here is the costs that come out. Okay, so the base plan, employer monthly cost, that's not your cost, that's Streamline's cost. And then here's your cost per paycheck. Now, if you're on the HSA, you also do have that separate and attached HSA bank account. That's a bank account in your name. And Streamline puts in $41.67 per paycheck. So that's great. So you actually get a funded bank account. You can always put in your own money to your HSA. I have an HSA. I put in as much money as I can. I do that because the money is going to remain in my bank account if I don't spend it. It's not taxed, so it reduces my taxable income, which is a good thing. And if I don't use it, it's going to be there for medical, dental, or vision expenses. The trade-off for the mid plan and the buy-up plan, you have a little more expense, right? These costs per paycheck are relatively the same because the benefits are pretty darn similar. And you'll see how much Streamline Innovations is bringing to the table. These are really healthy amounts of employer contribution towards the cost. A lot of times we see employers, as my firm works with hundreds of different companies all over the state. And a lot of times we'll see maybe an 80% of the employee cost and nothing towards the dependent tiers. And those can get very, very expensive. And so this is a really generous and healthy contribution schedule. I'm going to pause for questions in just a sec, but we do need to talk about this HSA. That's on your base plan, and you do get an employer contribution. But these are the amounts that includes your employer contributions that you can put in. So I put in as much money as I can up to these limits. So I'm on family coverage. So for 2023, you can put in $77.50, but because Streamline Innovations already puts in some, these are your numbers. So if I had family coverage on your HSA, I could put in $6,667, and that would be my money that I put into my bank account, and it would be a portion. It would add to this number that Streamline already puts in. Now, when you use your HSA, you have an app. I actually have HSA Bank as well for my HSA vendor, and it's pretty easy to use. You download the app on the phone. It's already synced up in payroll, and you can see how much is in the account, where the claims are, that kind of thing. All right, so we just went over probably the bulk of the information. I'm going to pause there and just go back to the medical page. Sorry, it's probably getting you a little seasick here. Any questions on the medical piece?
Ben, I've got a question on the deductible. The $2,000, it says it goes over a calendar year, but our plan is 4/1 to 3/31. Like my daughter had something come up last month and we paid the $2,000.
Sure.
Am I now good for the rest of the calendar year, even though the plan is rolling over? Or what if I change plans? How does that all play in?
Very good question. So whatever amount of your deductible you've met as of today, 310, Like if we were switching today, we're switching 4-1, but let's say you met all of the $2,000 deductible yesterday and today you roll over to a different plan. You will not lose what you already contributed in the middle of the year. It will apply for the rest of the year. It'll reset in January, but it will apply. Whatever you've paid for won't be lost.
So if I was to go from the 2,000 down to the 1,500, do I get a refund, or how does that work? If I went from
No.
midpoint to the
Yeah,
other.
that's a good question. If you go down, you're not going to get a refund because that $1,500 deductible would be for services that would be rendered after you had already, like it would be for future, but you had already met your deductible in the past. If you go higher or you stay the same, you don't lose it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. There was another question. Let's see. Yes, you can change your HSA contribution throughout the year. That's a bank account in your name. If you want to contribute more on some paychecks at the beginning of the year, for example, then at the end of the year, that's at your discretion. The only thing I tell people about changing that is it could just get confusing from a payroll perspective if you change it all the time. But yes, you can change it if you would like to.
Do we have an FSA option this year?
Yes. Yeah, let me go actually to that page. What I'm scrolling over is the virtual visit and UHC information. We'll cover this dental and vision. Sorry, the screen's going to get. There's a lot of info in here. All right. I just fast forwarded over a lot of stuff to page 43. So if you are on the HSA plan, you have a pre-tax option in the HSA bank account. If you're on the mid plan or the buyout plan, one of the copay plans, you have a flexible spending account, an FSA. That is another way to pre-tax dollars for medical spending. The drawback to any FSA is the fact that if you don't spend the money, you lose it. So that's set by the IRS. That's the major drawback. So an FSA is a spending account. The HSA is a health savings account. You can save the money. The flexible spending account would be for known and upcoming expenses. But yes, you do have that option. I'm going to go back to the dental vision piece. This stayed the exact same from last year, y'all. We didn't make any plan design changes. This is dental. It's with Guardian. Network is Dental Guard Preferred. And we have two different plans and they're the same price, which begs the question, huh? So here's the deal. If the dentist that you love is inside the Guardian network, then you'll be on the value plan because there's more value. So make sure if your dentist is in or out of the network. If your dentist is outside of the network, then you're on the network access plan. That's the difference. Is my dentist in the network or out of the network? So it can be a little confusing, but it's really just a network thing. There's more value if your dentist is inside the Guardian network, but if you want to go outside, then you're on the network access plan. Everybody gets $1,500 per mouth. Preventative services are $0. Ortho is $2,000. Get to spend that once. Cost is pretty darn inexpensive. And that's because Streamline's paying down 80% of the cost for employee only. That's why this tier is $2, $2.14. Then they're buying down 60% of dependents. So that's
So just
why
real quick
that
on
is.
that ortho, is the
Yeah,
ortho per person lifetime
it
maximum?
is. It is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. All of these benefits are per mouth, but just to have a spoiler alert, as I have 3 children, and 2 of them, when I get home, smile at me, and they are somewhere in the middle of braces. So I might have kind of an allergic reaction when I start talking about that too deeply, because 2,000 is great, but it ain't going to cover all of it. All right, let's talk about your eyes. The network is VSP Choice Network carriers, still Guardian, no changes here. You pay $10 and then you've got a decision to make. Do you want frames and lenses or contact lenses, not both at the same time? So they'll give you $150 for an allowance on the frames, 20% off above that. The lenses that go inside the frames are on a copay unless you're super blind like me and you got to shrink them down, then you're not going to get out for a copay, same as me. Or you get contacts at $150. That's how that works. Streamline contributes 80% towards this tier and 60% towards the rest. That's why these costs are so inexpensive. So a lot of the work that Streamline did was on the medical piece and addressing the employer contributions to make these benefits better. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these price tags that are pretty good amounts for you. Life insurance, don't want you to have to use it. Everybody gets 50,000. It's free. When you go into Paycom, you do want to make sure that you elect a beneficiary. That's where the proceeds of the life insurance go if you're no longer living. It is easier to see this online than it is on this slide. This is extra life insurance. It's called voluntary life insurance. Depending on if you're a new hire or if you are a current employee, the system will note for you if you have to fill out additional paperwork for voluntary life insurance. It's called evidence of insurability. So for most current employees, it won't be an automatic thing. If you want it, you can apply for it. And in terms of the cost, if you like to do math, all the numbers are here, but you'll be able to move a button inside Paycom and it'll calculate the cost for you. But you can elect up to 500,000 for you, up to 150,000 for your spouse, and God forbid you should, well, ever have to use any of it, you can elect 10,000 for a kid. Disability insurance did not change either. This is a insurance contract on your paycheck, actually, short-term and long-term. Short-term covers 60% up to $2,300 for 12 weeks. Long-term covers up to 10 grand to your Social Security normal retirement age. And those benefits run for a very long period of time. To get to the number for the deduction from your paycheck, it's going to be way easier to look at it online because it'll calculate it for you. But in general, disability insurance is insurance on your paycheck, and you would use it if you get sick or hurt. And STD, or short-term disability, kicks in after 8 days, lasts up to 12 weeks. LTD, or long-term disability, kicks in on the 91st day after about 3 months and runs to your Social Security normal retirement age, which for most of us is about 67.
What is the maximum benefit amount? What's the time period on that for the 10,000 and 2,000?
It is for LTD or long-term disability. It is a make sure, can y'all hear me? I don't want to lose my my internet connection here.
We can hear you.
Sorry about that, y'all. Internet issues. Okay. So the question was about disability. The long-term disability policy, the max payout, sorry, that's going to get you seasick again. Here we go. Covers 60% of your pre-disability earnings up to 10 grand a month. That's how LTD is structured. It's a monthly benefit. STD is structured as a weekly benefit. Same 60% of your pre-disability weekly earnings, but covers $2,300 up to $2,300 per week. Okay. There's a lot of real estate, y'all, in this guide about voluntary supplemental benefits. So you have 3 different plans. You have a critical illness plan, an accident plan, and a hospital indemnity plan. I'm going to cover all of them just on this page. And if you have any more questions, please just let me know. But a critical illness plan covers cancer, heart attack, stroke, things like that. It pays on initial diagnosis. An accident plan covers accidents, broken bones, things of that nature. Hospital indemnity pays money to your mailbox if you go into the hospital. And so individuals gravitate towards a critical illness plan, maybe based on family history, or if they are concerned about one of those maladies landing on you. Obviously it's all the things nobody wants. But Guardian sends money to your mailbox should one of those diagnoses land on you. Accident plan, folks gravitate towards that one if they've got kiddos in sports, or if you're the person that everybody says is accident prone. Hospital indemnity pays money to your mailbox if you go into a hospital. So some people gravitate towards that plan with a little higher deductibles. They see it as a way to pay a little premium to Guardian. If they go into the hospital, they take that money and you can pay your deductible or you can buy groceries with it. Those are the voluntary plans. This medical transport plan is also a voluntary plan. This one's interesting. The reason why it's interesting is because it's very specific. This covers only ambulance and life flight. So a lot of folks think if they have major medical coverage, it will cover all or 100% of an ambulance bill, but none of those providers are in any network. And so we've seen a lot of folks gravitate towards this particular plan, the MASA medical transport, if they are concerned about an ambulance or a life flight. And the 2 different costs covers, it's one cost that covers the whole family. Emergent Plus is United States and Canada. Platinum is anywhere in the world. That's how MASA structures its stuff. All of the information that I'm scrolling over now is information I just high leveled. This is the critical illness plan. And you can see on the left-hand side some of the maladies that it responds to. Those are the costs. Those are going to be in Paycom as well. That did not change from last year. This is the accident plan. And then you can see if you've got a dismemberment for a hand, you've got a this is AD&D, so it's also got a kicker for if you're in a car accident. These are the things that it covers. Hopefully none of you have a gunshot wound, for example, but that's $750 from Guardian. And the next will be the hospital indemnity plan. That's the last page of the accident coverage. Hospital indemnity simply just pays money to you if you go into a hospital. All of these costs will be on Paycom so that you'll be able to see it. And it's honestly a little more intuitive layout than, you know, a PDF with too much information on it. Okay. This is that MASA slide. Just an example of how big bills can get in an ambulance or a life flight situation. The differences between the cost, Platinum, US and Canada. Oh, excuse me. Platinum is worldwide, and Emergent Plus is United States and Canada. This is free stuff page. Guardian has an EAP, Employee Assistance Program, and a Will Prep program. Honestly, of the two of these, I really do like the Will Prep, free online Will Prep. It's form or template based. My mom actually used one of these to get her will done. It was really, really helpful. Premium only plan just means any of these benefits that we can pass from employer to employee without taxation, we will do. And the rest of this is follow-up information on EAP. We did talk about that FSA that can be attached to one of those two copay medical plans. And then the rest of this information is great late night reading material we're not going to cover for the sake of time. All right. This is the final page. Everything's going to kick in effective April 1st. So we've got a deadline coming up. Today is the 10th. If any of you have kiddos like me, you might be terrified about the packing situation that you have not engaged in if spring break is next week. So we wanted to give folks enough of a window this weekend and next week. So deadline is March 20th. Please go to Paycom by March 20th. To say your yeses and nos. Elizabeth Guajardo is a colleague of mine. She is the Streamline Innovations dedicated account manager. Questions that you have throughout the year for anything that is covered in this presentation, that is her job and she's good at it. And so if you have a question on a bill, if you need help finding a doctor, or you need help just answering some questions, then please just let us know throughout the year. And I'll pause my part and just see if there are any questions before we let you go back to your Friday.
I don't see any detailed information on last year's handbook. I don't see this year's handbook on Paycom. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong spot, but I don't see any detailed information on the prescription tiers. Where can I find additional information about that?
So the prescription tiers we can send you if you would like it. It's a big old thick document that says what drug is covered on which tier. We have it in a general sense on page 2, either page 2 or 3 of this presentation. It's the medical presentation page, and it lists different copay tiers for different drugs, but we don't list because it would just be too much information about every drug covered on their specific tier. But we can send you the follow-up document so that usually you can, it's about 150 pages long or something like that. So you can, type in XYZ drug, and then you can see on that document what tier of coverage it lands on.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to need.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too for my family. So I get it. And would you just, if you'll do this, was that, let's see, what's your name?
Damon.
Damon. Okay. Damon, if you'll just shoot Devin an email, and then she'll probably forward to me and Elizabeth, just say, hey, I need, it's called a PDL, prescription drug list. Can you shoot me the PDL?
Sure. Thank you.
You bet.
Where can I find information on investment options in the HSA?
Okay, so the question was, where can you find investment options for the HSA? I have HSA Bank too, and I don't see any in my own personal account. Sometimes vendors don't give you investment options until the cash balance is up into the tens of thousands. So my first response is, I'm not sure if that's an option inside HSA Bank or not. I can ask, but I know that on mine that I don't have any investment options.
Mine shows a tab for it, but it doesn't provide any information. So
Hang on, I can't. Can you can you yell at me, please? I can't hear you.
mine has a tab for investments, but it doesn't show any information.
Oh, okay, interesting. I'll ask. I don't know.
For the dependent care FSA, how does that work? If we've got kids in daycare that just automatically comes out of the bank, can we just write ourselves a check at the end of the year, or does it have to come directly through that account to the provider? What's the cadence there?
Yeah, good question. So if you're on a dependent care FSA, and let's say you deduct, I don't know, $250 a month or something like that. So it doesn't come lump sum at the beginning, right when you elect it. It comes out every single paycheck. So it's kind of like a little draw. So the other FSA, when you're using it for like a medical, dental, or vision, it comes lump sum. If you elected, $1 a month, you would get $12 all up front. The dependent care FSA does not work like that. So what you'll do to transact that, there will be like a way to input that provider into WEX's portal, just to validate, that they are a daycare provider. And then the documentation of the bill, you can scan and upload into their portal.
Okay, so if I do that though, then they'll rebate that money directly back to me just by showing the proof of it.
Well, when you do it through an FSA, they won't necessarily like give it back to you, because you will have already, the advantage of doing a dependent care FSA is if you did elect that $250 a month, you're not paying taxes on that $250 a month. That's the real draw to a dependent care FSA. So you would be paying for it already out of your paycheck. WEX just validates that it is a pre-tax transaction. Any other questions while we're all together? I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording here.